This chapel isn't going to be perfect, and that's okay. I used to care a lot about perfection, whether I could achieve it, how I could run away from it, and what it meant for my self-worth. It got to the point where I couldn't look at myself without a comparison to another standard, a standard that was never really attainable. But things have changed. Lumiere does that to people, I guess. Let me give you an example. My relationship with academics has been one of ups and downs. As a kid in elementary and middle school, everything came easily to me. I still made sure I kept A's, but besides that, I goofed around to the point of not caring about doing my best. If I didn't do well on an assignment but corrections were available, I didn't bother to fix them because, oh well, I was still doing okay. When I got to high school, it was sort of a wake-up call for me, a fresh start away from the friends that had made me somewhat passive toward my grades. When I got here, I decided to give everything I had into my schoolwork. Some of my close friends and family might remember my early high school mantra, I don't need friends, they only disappoint me. I can go on and on about how this is wrong, but I'll stick to the point. I put many of my existing and prospective relationships aside to focus on time for my studies. I honestly thought I was happy back then. I had everything I could want out of academics, amazing grades, and summa cum laude honor roll. I mistook the pride in my achievements as happiness. I didn't realize the toll it took on me until perfection faded away the summer after my sophomore year. Before I took summer government, I had a 4.3 GPA. I had gotten A+ in every subject I took at Lumiere for 2 years. As many of you know, Mr. Heffron can be a very difficult teacher, and a 2-week window only compounded the intensity of the course. I still had my A+ before the final exam, but my B+ on the test brought my final grade down to an A. When I saw the score, I was devastated. I am being serious when I say I cried for days. I apologize to any of you who think I was being petty or ungrateful, because I really was. Looking back on the situation, my viewpoint was so distorted by the pursuit of perfection that I couldn't think straight. To consider an A a bad grade is outright absurd. But at that point, I could not separate my schoolwork from my self-worth. My determination to refocus myself after middle school turned into an obsessive drive to never make a mistake. I would sacrifice time with old and new friends to complete assignments nitpicking for extra points. I remember telling myself I wouldn't complete an extra credit assignment because I already had a good enough grade, but there I was at my computer at midnight, finally done with the outline. I am also serious when I say that I can't remember anything from freshman year because I was only fixated on my homework. I was out of control even before my summer breakdown. I put so much of my own personal value into a letter on a report card. In hindsight, breaking my streak of A+ was the best thing to ever happen to me. It was my tangible reminder that perfection is rarely attainable and never sustainable. With the biggest source of my confidence gone, I had to reprogram myself. The standard that I held myself to for 2 years was also gone. I could finally love learning again and be happy with any grade I got as long as I tried my best. I also started looking at my relationships outside of the classroom and stopped letting life pass me by. I would have never realized that a simple A in a class could change my personality and outlook completely, but it did. But I don't just give government class the credit for breaking me from perfectionism. I credit all of you. As many of you know, have noticed from my chapel, or will know now, I have a lot of difficulty speaking clearly. I have a pretty noticeable stutter that affects almost everything that I do. I don't necessarily repeat sounds like the typical stutterer you see on TV, but I do have these things called blocks where my throat closes up and I can't get any sound or air out. Because I can feel blocks coming with certain words before I say them, I usually speak in a very roundabout way to avoid reaching one. It's gotten in the way of making morning meeting announcements, ordering the food I actually want to eat, or even making small talk with friends. I don't give my family enough credit for being so wonderful, patient, and supportive, encouraging me to say what I mean when all I feel like is being silent. I used to be really afraid of speaking up or doing anything like this. Talking in front of the whole school was unthinkable and one of my greatest fears. I knew my family would never make fun of me for twisting or slipping up on words, but I wasn't quite sure about the entire student body. But after reciting my assigned poem for British literature, Mr. Massey asked me to compete in the Poetry Out Loud competition. I was stunned and noncommittal, asking him for one day to make up my mind and take his offer. When he agreed, I went to the Morehouse to think about my decision. I planned on thinking by myself, but something compelled me to sit down next to one of my good friends. That conversation I had with her was one of the main reasons I decided to participate. She told me that if people gave me a hard time or laughed at me, so what? They didn't matter anyways. Immediately after her kind words, I got up and walked to room 6 to write my name in for the competition. I'm not going to say names, but thank you. You gave me a spark of confidence to stand up in front of everyone and do something I never thought I could. You are one of the reasons I feel confident on this podium. Thank you to all of you who listen to me. I know it's hard. I say the wrong things, don't directly answer your questions, or take way too much time to explain something. But I really appreciate what you do. I used to be too shy to talk to anyone here because I was afraid of them teasing me or looking at me funny, but now I realize how wrong I was. So if you get anything out of this chapel, I hope you realize that you don't need to be perfect. I hope you realize you don't need perfect grades to speak perfectly or have a perfect life. Your imperfections are what makes you human and makes you, well, you. You are amazing the way you are, and you are capable of changing the lives of those around you. Words of encouragement you may think are insignificant can impact someone's life for years to come. I want to thank the school for changing me for the better. The teachers, staff, and student body are an amazing, talented, and driven group of people. Cherish your time here, put down the book for a while, as long as you want to, and talk to that person instead of sitting alone, and try something new. Thank you.